Today we're talking about something that could hit your wallet in a very real way, and it starts with the Supreme Court. In a 6-3 decision, the court struck down a major set of tariffs imposed by Donald Trump. Those tariffs brought in hundreds of billions of dollars. Now the big question people are asking is simple: do we get any of that money back? Because if you've bought groceries, appliances, electronics, really anything imported, over the past year or two, chances are you paid part of those tariffs without even realizing it. So yes, this matters. A lot. And what happens next could affect your prices, your taxes, and possibly even whether rebate checks ever become a reality. Let me ask you this: if you received a tariff rebate check, what would you do with it? Drop your answer in the comments. What actually happened? The court ruled that President Trump did not have the authority to impose those broad tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. That law was originally meant for real emergencies, things like freezing foreign assets or blocking financial transactions during a crisis. It wasn't designed to authorize sweeping import taxes. The court's message was clear: if you're going to tax goods coming into the country, Congress must clearly approve it. The president can't rely on a general emergency law to do it alone. Important detail: the court didn't say tariffs themselves are illegal. They said the way these tariffs were implemented wasn't allowed under that specific law. So, what happens to the money? Here's where it gets complicated. The government already collected over $200 billion from these tariffs. Some estimates suggest that around $175 billion could potentially be subject to refunds. That's an enormous amount of money. But here's the surprising part: the Supreme Court did not decide whether refunds must happen. They left that question open. So right now, the honest answer is, we don't know yet. Who would even get the refund? Technically, tariffs are paid by importers, the companies bringing goods into the US. Those companies typically pass the cost along to consumers. That means businesses paid the tariffs directly, but everyday people likely absorb the cost through higher prices. So if refunds are issued, do they go back to the companies first? Most likely. Will companies pass that money back to consumers? Maybe. Is it guaranteed? No. Even Justice Brett Kavanaugh, in dissent, warned that if refunds are required, the process could be, in his words, a mess. And when a Supreme Court justice calls something a mess, you know it won't be quick or simple. Did tariffs raise prices? Research suggests they did. Some estimates put the added cost at over $1,000 per year for the average household. You may not have seen a line item labeled tariff tax, but higher prices on electronics, vehicles, appliances, and everyday goods likely reflected it. Tariffs ripple through the economy. Costs move from importers to retailers to consumers. Which brings us back to the big question: will you personally see a refund check? 3 possible outcomes. Cap 1: refunds go only to importers. Companies get reimbursed. Whether consumers benefit depends on whether prices fall or businesses keep the difference. This is legally straightforward, but not very satisfying for everyday households. Cap 2: Congress creates a broader refund plan. Lawmakers could step in and design a structured refund system. At one point, there was discussion of something like a $2,000 tariff dividend. Right now, that idea looks uncertain, but it's not completely off the table. Cap 3: no refunds, or very limited ones. The government could argue the tariffs were collected in good faith and that refunding billions would be too disruptive. That would almost certainly trigger more lawsuits, and there are already over 1,000 cases tied to this issue. So this is far from settled. Are tariffs over? Not exactly. President Trump has said he plans to pursue new tariffs under a different authority, Section 122 of the Trade Act. So while one legal path has been closed, another may already be opening. This ruling isn't about eliminating tariffs altogether. It's about who has the constitutional authority to impose them. The Constitution gives Congress power over taxes and trade. The court essentially reinforced that boundary. The bigger debate supporters argue tariffs strengthen negotiating power, protect national security, address trade imbalances, encourage domestic production. Critics argue tariffs raise consumer prices, hurt certain industries, create uncertainty, don't always deliver promised job growth. There are arguments on both sides, and understanding both helps you see the full picture. But for you, it ultimately comes down to one thing. How does this affect your money? What should you expect? Even if refunds happen, it could take years. Court rulings, appeals, administrative reviews, this isn't a flip-the-switch situation. With this much money involved, the process would likely move slowly. And here's another layer. If the government issues refunds, that money has already been spent or built into the federal budget. Paying it back could affect deficits, spending priorities, or future tax policy. So it's not just about getting money back, it's about how the system adjusts around it. What should you do? Right now, no immediate action is required. But stay informed. Watch for updates about refund programs. Pay attention to price changes. Keep an eye on new tariff announcements. This situation is evolving. New policies, new legal battles, or even direct payments could emerge, though that remains uncertain. One thing is clear: this ruling isn't just political. It's financial. And it touches everyday Americans more than many people realize. So again, if a tariff rebate check showed up in your mailbox, what would you do with it? Let me know.